Hello everybody, welcome to 2022, the Gran Turismo World Series. It is round 3, and here today we have Nations Cup action coming along the way for you. My name is Tom Brooks, alongside me Jimmy Broadbent here to guide you through what is happening here today. And it is going to be a very exciting one because we've had some brilliant racing over the course of this season. And of course we're not far away from the World Finals in Monaco in November as well. We're very much looking forward to that and to being back in person. But for now, here's what is happening for round 3. You can see we are here bringing you this event in 4 different languages. Here in English, we've got it in Japanese, in Spanish, and in Italian as well. Let's have another look then, shall we, at the calendar to guide you through what we've been through so far this year. We had round 1 back in July. We had the World Series Showdown in Salzburg at the end of July. We've had World Series round 2 in September and October. Here we are for round 3, and then the World Finals takes place at the end of this month. And here is how the point standings look coming into this weekend's worth of racing. So Igor Fraga leads by just 1 point over Kylian Drumont, who took top honours at the World Series Showdown in Salzburg in July, and we're looking forward to seeing what the order is going to be here, Jimmy. But we're out in the Nissan. You're a fan of that.
Yeah, look at this car, the Super Silhouette Group 5 car, one of the new cars to Gran Turismo 7. An awesome machine for our competitors to try and get their heads around. 600 horsepower, rear-wheel drive turbo. All very, very good things. Back at Deep Forest Raceway for 15 laps, single lap qualifying, with only the racing soft tyres requiring to be used as well. Rolling start as well, so it's been a fairly easy getaway for these guys. So once they get going, these cars are going to be absolute weapons, and I cannot wait to watch this.
Absolutely. Well, last time out, of course, it was Angel Inestrosa who took the top honours from Valerio Gallo and Ryota Kokubun completing the podium. Let's have a look, shall we, at the driver lineup, though, for this event. So, 12 drivers set to take to the grid. Brazil's Igor Fraga is at the helm with Kylian Drumont, Ryota Kokubun, Lucas Pinelli, Baptiste Bovar. Last time's winner, Inestrosa, there in 6th place with Serrano, Gallo, Yamanaka, Karatza, Kawakami, and Matt McEwen down there in 12th, the Kiwi. Who's your eye on in particular for this one, Jimmy?
I think it's got to be Inestrosa. He always seems to get on really well with these kind of quirky cars that we throw at him in the GT7 events, and did so well last time out, of course, in the road car version of the 911 LMP car. So really interested to see how he does in this Super Silhouette. Of course, never discount Igor Fraga or Kylian Drumont, very, very quick this season, and Kokubun on a bit of a high as well after the Manufacturers' Cup race yesterday.
Yeah, plenty of opportunity for things to change. Let's remind ourselves, though, of what the 2022 GT World Series has looked like up until this point, because it's been a bit of a cracker.
前回のレースでは、予選失敗してしまって非常に苦しいレースにはなってしまったんですけれども、ピットに入った時にスリックタイヤとレインタイヤで悩んだ時にスリックタイヤの方が勝負できると思ったのでスリックタイヤを選びました。ちょっと正解ではあったんですけど、ペナルティをもらってしまったので、ちょっと残念な部分であったんですけど、それでも4位まで上がることができたのは自分の速さと天候の読みがあったからこそなので自信に持ってます。
The characteristic of the race was really, really special because nobody knew when the rain was going to come down.
That race was mental for me. Probably the most insane race I've ever done in my life. I was really lucky with the weather conditions to keep me out while I'm more with the dry tires. That was the main key of my comeback there. And after what happened in the past races, it was the perfect race for me.
It's the win for Angel Inestrosa.
Well, winning round 2 means a lot to me because I think that finally I can achieve good result on the full championship. Being 4 years in a row and competing here, it feels really, really good to finally get a win in Nations Cup.
So then welcome back then to Deep Forest Raceway, just in time for qualifying, and we're on board with our Kiwi friend Matt McEwen in the Super Silhouette Skyline Group 5 car, just under 600 brake horsepower, and he gets from the brakes down towards T1. Now this car's all about managing that fat old turbo. It's like a sledgehammer in this thing. It's all about very careful front application in a straight line if you can as well, just to make sure you don't spin those rear tyres. We do have a little bit of downforce on this old car, but nothing similar to modern machinery. It's all about managing that and expecting a little bit of a slide mid-corner, making our way then through the mid part of the circuit. Nice and neat and tidy so far from Matt McEwen. Always someone to watch out for in these races. As we come now down towards the downhill section, a bit of a slide there. Again, power in this car is very much overpowered for the grip of the tyre and the suspension, so always spicy. Now this is where you can let that Skyline loose down the straight here. You can hear the turbo there, the intake noise, it sucks in air and forces it into the manifold down towards the heaviest braking point on the circuit. Now we haven't got a speedo in this car, but I'm telling you, we're well above 150 mile an hour into this braking point, and then bam, on the brakes at the end of the curb. Tuck the car in nice and neat and tidy here. McCune does a good job of that. Out wide, a little bit of understeer there mid-corner. I think maybe a little bit too much steering in, but the front tyres didn't quite bite the way he wanted them to. But now down the hill, you can let that turbo run away, and that is Matt McEwen's lap here at Deep Forest Raceway. Now, for some sort of context, we saw 124s in Group 3 cars. What we see in this Super Silhouette car comes to the start-finish line. It's a 125, so it's not that much slower.
Not bad at all there from Matt McEwen. Good first lap time for the Kiwi to get in. You can see the aerodynamic properties of that car. Looks like it's been designed with a ruler as Kanata Kawakami goes nearly a second quicker at the top of the timesheets.
These are, without doubt, the best boxes. I will not be told otherwise.
Like you needed the encouragement for Nissan. Here's Adriano Carrazza then to the timing line. What can the Brazilian driver do? He deposes Matt McEwen. It was not a brilliant lap time there for Matt McEwen, despite seemingly looking pretty tidy. Just wasn't quite as fast for him. Tomoaki Yamanaka ready to try and break the beam. The second of our Japanese drivers, 3 of them on the grid for this race. What can Yamanaka do? He goes a couple of tenths of a second behind his compatriot.
Yeah, really nice lap so far for both the Japanese drivers. Here comes Valerio Gallo, someone who's had a good race last time out, but not had a good season so far, I think it's fair to say. Our reigning champ. What can he do across the start-finish line? Not bad. P2 for him, right behind Kawakami.
Now the young Spaniard Jose Serrano, just 18 years old, he comes to the timing line. He's been very quick over the course of the last couple of seasons in Gran Turismo. Can he upset the apple cart and go to the top of the pile? Yes, he can. A 1:24.240. He is now on provisional pole.
Really nice there from Jose Serrano. We see a lot of pace from him. Perhaps not as consistent as he needs to be, but definitely a very, very quick driver. So here's Angel Estrota. Did so well last time out in the 911 GT1 road version, because of course we haven't got the race car, so it's the road version for now. How's he going to handle this boxy boy, this Nissan? Let's have a look. So he's coming down the hill now. Looks nice and neat and tidy so far, but would it be good enough to depose Serrano?
Well, he does like these quirky cars. We saw that, of course, last time out when he took the win in that 911 RSR. Let's see what Inestrosa, the Chilean driver, is going to be able to do as he comes to the timing line. Didn't have such a brilliant time of things in the Manufacturer Series, and not a bad qualifying lap, but it's only P5 at the moment.
Yeah, here's Baptiste Beauvoir, always a bridemaid. Beauvoir, never the bride, unfortunately for him. Hopefully he can change that today. We know the Frenchman has a lot of pace, but he's deciding not to show it today. He's everything else.
Commentator's curse is alive and well for Baptiste Beauvoir. What about Lucas Bonelli, who was on form really quick last time out in the Manufacturer Series for round 3? If you haven't watched it, we implore you to go and do so, because he was very fast in the Mercedes AMG. He only goes 7th quickest though, behind Adriano Carrazza. What about Ryota Kokubun then, one of the drivers for Toyota in the Manufacturer Series? We know he's got good pace underneath him. Can he become the top Japanese driver? Yes, he can. 2nd quickest, a 1:24.3. Kylian Drumont, the winner from the World Series Showdown back in July. He comes to the timing line. Didn't have such a good time in the Manufacturer Series recently. What about in the Nations Cup though, as he comes to the line? It's 5th quickest for the Frenchman.
And last but certainly not least, Igor Fraga out on circuit, our current points leader. Let's see what he can do in this Super Silhouette car. Comes to the line, can he get provisional pole? Goes across the line, and only good enough for 8th for Igor Fraga. So by his standards, a very poor qualifying.
Well, 3 Brazilian drivers bookending the top 10. Here is how the grid will line up. It'll be Jose Serrano and Kokubun on the front row, then Kawakami and the reigning champion Valerio Gallo on row 2. Row 3 will be spearheaded by Kylian Drumont, with Tomoaki Yamanaka just behind. Then it's Angel Estrota and Igor Fraga, Carrazza and Bonelli just inside the top 10 with those 3 Brazilian drivers. Not a good qualifying though for Baptiste Beauvoir. Must have made a mistake on his flying lap, some 0.6 of a second adrift. And we saw Matt McEwen, of course, not having particularly the best lap time out there, though it looks quite tidy. It wasn't the fastest, 1 second off the pace, down there in 12th position. Of course, it is a 15-lap race. There are no tyre strategies to worry about, just racing soft, and it'll be a lights to flag sprint for these drivers. So we're looking forward to seeing what is going to happen. And of course, don't forget, you can get involved in the conversation here this weekend as well for the GT World Series. We are, of course, available to get in contact with on gran-turismo.com on the website, at the Gran Turismo on on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and on TikTok. You can vote for your Michelin Driver of the Day on social media as well. And don't forget about the bonus campaign, which is currently live on Gran Turismo 7 as well. It's round 3 of the Gran Turismo World Series. The Nations Cup comes to you from the Deep Forest Raceway. 12 drivers lining up on the grid, and here is the order in which we will see them going across the timing line, but I'm sure not the one we'll see them taking the checkered flag. Jose Serrano lines up on pole position with Ryota Kokubun for company on that front row of the grid. Row 2, Kanata Kawakami. Good lap time for the Japanese driver with the reigning champion Valerio Gallo alongside. World Series Showdown winner Kilian Drumont spearheads row 3 with Tomoaki Yamanaka for company in P6. Next up it is Angel Enestrosa, the Chilean, the winner from last time out on the next row of the grid with Igor Fraga, the 2018 champ, alongside. Then it's the second of our Brazilian drivers, Adriano Carrazza, with his compatriot Lucas Benelli just inside the top 10. Baptiste Beauvoir down in 11th place, a lot of work for him to do. And Matt McEwen bookending our 12 drivers taking to the grid for this one. Of course, Jimmy, no tyre strategies for the drivers to be worrying about here in this race. It's all pretty much a sprint from lights to flag, isn't it?
Basically, just send it. That's the whole race. One big send. And I can support everyone in this race equally because they're all in this hands, Tom. Finally, they've listened.
Oh, it's only taken, what, 4 years?
Yeah, I think that's been 4 years of waiting.
Something like that. Well, Jose Serrano then will lead the field to the timing line. Is there anything in particular that we should sort of be looking out for in these opening stages with the field bunched up like this?
I think these cars are quite ready to bite you if you make a mistake. So where everyone's scrapping, you might see someone get on the front a little bit too eagerly. You might see a couple of spins. But, these are the best drivers in Gran Turismo. So hopefully, like I've said that, they won't embarrass me.
Well, here we are then, ready to go for a start. It is the Gran Turismo World Series, round 3 of the Nations Cup, coming to you from Deep Forest Raceway. Jose Serrano, Ryota Kokubun are your top 2. They will lead the field across the timing line as we go green and go racing for the Nations Cup and head over the crest and down towards that first corner. Of course, that rolling start spreading the field out. There'll be no dive bombs in towards that first turn, but it'll be all about getting a good run through the first sector, through the S-bends, and then trying to capitalise on that long back straight on the run from turn 10 to turn 14. But crucially, no mistakes coming from Jose Serrano, the leader, through the first couple of corners.
Be nice and tidy through there, as you expect it to be. Of course, it's a spec car. Everyone's in the same car, different liveries, so no advantage there. It's all about the driver here in the Nations Cup. We're on board with Ryota Kokubun, trying to chase down Jose Serrano for now. Now, these things, as you can see, they are boxes, literally. They are rectangular objects with wheels on. So punching a hole in the air is... these things are draggy, is what I'm saying. So if you're Kokubun right now, you're going to get a big toe from Serrano if you can get close enough to use it.
Bad start to the race for Matt McEwen down in 12th place. He, of course, was last on the grid. He's already picked up a penalty in the opening couple of corners. So the Kiwi, unfortunately, going backwards so far then in this race. So down the back straight we go in towards the hairpin bend. Of course, these being spec machines, the straight line speed difference between them is relatively minimal. Kawakami there being closed up on the brakes by Valerio Gallo, but they're all sort of going to be running nose to tail until those sort of mistakes start creeping in. Maybe drivers start to wear out their tyres a bit more later in the race.
Yeah, we'll see. Rear tyre use will definitely be a thing around here as well. As I said before, these things have nearly 600 brake horsepower, and 600 horsepower aero and suspension from the 80s tends to mean a little bit of spiciness. Talking of spicy, here's an Enestrosa up the inside of Yamanaka there. Big lunge, maybe a little bit of a kiss on the way through, just to say, all right, good to see you. Off I go.
Well, it's going to get to second base. Inestrosa up into P6. I have to say, the three Brazilian drivers, Fraga, Carazza, Benelli, dropping off the back of these three at the moment. And indeed, Fraga coming under pressure here from Carazza. And look who's right at the back of that, Baptiste Beauvoir. He really needs to try and make hay whilst the sun shines. And he's closed up in this sort of small group because down in 11th on the grid is not where he'll have expected to be. And he needs to try and make that forward progress as soon as he possibly can if he stands a chance of getting a strong result in this race. So we're going to go through the left-hander of turn 10. This is where the slipstream will become a lot more prominent. Of course, Carazza having that hole pushed in front of him by Igor Fraga. Fraga looks like he's just outside of meaningful slipstream range of Yamanaka, who is just up the road in front of him. And keep an eye out as we ride on board here with Lucas Benelli. So we're going to go down into the braking zone, into this hairpin bend. Gallo getting really close there onto the back of Kawakami into the left-hander.
Yeah, let's see now what this thing is like in the tow. You can see this thing uses an H-pattern gearbox. Unfortunately, our guys don't have those provided. I would love to see a little bit of heel and toe action, maybe in the future, But right up behind Kawakami, it's going to drive by the Japanese driver, or try to anyway, in a straight line. Pulls out, doesn't quite have the overlap though. Might go for a late lunge. Likes that. There you go, up the inside. Dive to the apex before Kawakami can get there, but Kawakami does a really good job of just squeezing in there, stopping him from getting on the throttle, and Gallo has to settle back into 4th place.
I think that is going to be the name of the game, isn't it, here, with the lack of straight line speed advantage being in the slipstream. It's going to be a bit of a lunge fest this race. On board we ride here with Valerio Gallo, close with Kawakami, Kokkoman, and the race leader Jose Serrano in front. So despite Serrano's pace in qualifying, that hasn't translated into being able to build a gap in the early stages of this race. 0.6 of a second is not a bad buffer, but he's still definitely within that sort of slipstreaming range. He's not going to be able to drop them until he gets about over a second or so from Kokkoman.
Yeah, I mean, like he'll be aware of that, and this is the point where it's definitely most prevalent. You can see in the mirror there, Baptiste Beauvoir looming large in his French flag liveried Nissan R31. Decides to back off a little bit though. When he go for the inside move, he's onto our left at the moment. You see Gallo, he likes to do that, Gallo. He likes to, at the last minute, sort of just throw the car to one direction, just to either show a defence or maybe feign a move. He does that quite a lot. Things I've seen him do that and make a mistake because of it. So he's got to be careful with that. And we go now back down to see the last part of the course. Sorry, it's Kylian Drumont in the French car. I thought Baptiste Beauvoir. My apologies there.
Well, I'm just going to say, actually, Adriano Carazza is making some progress in this race, as is Igor Fraga and likewise Baptiste Beauvoir, all at the expense of Lucas Benelli, who's dropped down. Here comes Valerio Gallo going for that lunge on the inside of Kanata Kawakami. Into the first corner he goes. There's a bit of contact there with Kokkoman as well to boot, but Gallo getting really aggressive, and Kylian Drumont ready to try and join in the action as well as they come over the crest into those S-bends now. It's very much one at a time through here. You can try and go 2x2, but it's a one-way ticket into the barrier. So I wonder what the strategy is going to be here for Kylian Drumont, because I think he's going to start getting a little bit impatient. And the thing is, all the while they're starting squabbling, look at Jose Serrano. He's just building up that gap. It's only a couple of tenths of a second bigger than it was last time around, but a couple of tenths of a second is a couple of tenths of a second.
Yeah, it's something. It's not much, but it's honest work for Serrano up front. And yeah, because these cars do have the aerodynamic properties of a serial box, it does mean that you can actually follow quite closely to the car in front. So when you do get onto the back straight, you're in a really good spot to get into the tow. The problem is, if you're Drumont right now, Kawakami also has a tow from the car in front. So that's why we're seeing some pretty big lunges.
So down in towards the braking zone of turn 14 we go. Drumont later on the brakes, they're trying to compromise, trying to get the better exit out of the corner and try and get that run down in towards that first turn, because you're all flat on the throttle from the end of this point of the lap until you go into the braking zone of the first turn. Already on lap 4 out of 15 we are on. It's still nose to tail here between these top 5 drivers at the moment. Some good battles taking place further down as well. Yamanaka's not too far adrift of Angel Inestrosa for P6, and likewise Baptiste Beauvoir trying to continue his forward progress. Here's Gallo then side by side with Kokkoman into the first corner. Gallo up into P2.
Yeah, we just missed that then. Kokkoman actually had a go at Serrano for the lead. But there was some sort of contact. Kokkoman had to just pull out of it, and now he's down to 3rd place, slowed him right down there, that attempt at the lead. So it shows you have to really pick your battles here in this R31.
Well then, let's see what happens here for Kokkoman. Can he regroup? Can he try and challenge Serrano and Gallo for the front positions in this race? Serrano's gap now increasing to up to nearly a second. Here comes Drumont on the inside of Kanata Kawakami into the left-hander. There's a bit of a gap there for Drumont, but it's all about the run down this back straight, and I'm sure he's going to try and dart back into the slipstream of the Japanese driver, and indeed he does. So as we go through the tunnel, it's now all going to be about the run on the braking zone into turn 14. Drumont, though, pulling out of that slipstream relatively early, so I wonder if he's just going to try and sit behind can Kawakami try and regroup for the time being because he's a bit too far away from a late lunge?
Yeah, I think you're probably just going to wait for the straight here, as you get a much bigger toe down here than you do going up to the hairpin now. So my man looks like he's out for a Sunday drive, doesn't he, down the bottom? He's really chilled out.
I was going to say, one thing that's been so impressive with Killian is he's 18, 19 years old, very, very young, but has maturity beyond his years in pretty much all aspects. We saw that when we were at the World Series Showdown, you know, and he did the double when he won the Manufacturer Series and the Nations. Here he tries to go for that move on Canard to Kawakami, dive bombing down the inside to the first corner, a bit of contact in between there, but all's fair in love and war. Killian Drummond is up into 4th place.
Yoink. Yeah, I mean, I kind of saw that coming when he backed off on the back straight there. I knew he was going to just wait for that. So Drummond up into 4th. Can he get onto the back of his train now, with Serrano leading, Gallo 2nd, Kokubun in 3rd place. 3 giants of the Gran Turismo racing community. Of course, Valerio Gallo, our Nations Cup champ from last year, and also Olympic Series champion as well.
He is,
so
yeah.
My guy's got a lot of trophies on his shelf.
But he hasn't had a particularly brilliant 2022 so far.
No,
he's had a fair bit of bad luck this year, and he's just sort of, I don't want to say gone off the boil a little bit, but he's not been the Valerio that we've been used to seeing over the last couple of seasons, has he?
Yeah, I think that, you know, when we say that, he's in 2nd right now, but we're used to him dominating. He's maybe under attack here from Kokubun. No, Kokubun thinks better of it, and of course Ryota Kokubun himself, no slouch. I think back to 2018, he was one of the Nations Cup regional champions. Very, very fast driver in his own right. He's always been there or thereabouts in Nations Cup. We very rarely see him outside, you know, the top 3. So always one to watch out for.
Yeah, Kokubun won the 2019 World Tour back in Tokyo in front of his home crowd as well. Here comes his compatriot Canard Kawakami on Killian Drummond, side by side. They run down in towards the first corner. It's going to be easy pickings here for Kawakami. He's back through on the Frenchman as they run nose to tail through that first corner. I mean, that just goes to show that clearly the big overtakes are going to be made down at that first turn, aren't they, with that slipstream?
Yeah, it's just that's the best place right here. And although, of course, I said these cars you can follow quite closely, these guys are also evenly matched to that. It's actually fairly pedestrian through the first part of the lap. And no, I was thinking would be a few more moments. These guys seem fairly in tune with these Super Silhouette Group 5 cars. So where are the big skids? Where are the moments? Where's the big boosty skids?
Points for drifting, is that what you just want to start awarding?
Yeah, if we could have a chat, maybe we can speak to Mr. Yamauchi and ask him very kindly, can we please have drift points in races? I have a feeling he'd say no.
Let's have a look at the tyre graphic on the left-hand side of your screen then. So it looks like Ryota Kokuben's doing the best job of nursing his tyres in that top 5 group at the moment. He's got the most tyre available on the front and slightly more on the rear as well. Look at Kawakami versus Drummond as well. Drummond with a lot more wear actually on the front right tyre there.
I love this graphic. It's such a cool graphic to have here. Very helpful for us as well up in the commentary booth. But that is going to be a part of this race is tyre wear. Even if it's only a little bit, it can affect how these cars handle. And Serrano there going very defensive very early on Valerio Gallo, then coming back across just to take his line. He's allowed to do that, broke the toe. I think just to try and unsettle Gallo a bit. You know, it's always a little bit distracting when the guy in front of you is darting around. So very easy to miss a braking point like that. But Gallo's a pro. That ain't going to happen to him.
Well, he's in a really unfortunate position of having to try and attack Serrano in front, but keep a watching brief on Kokubun, who we ride on board with behind as well. So through into these S-bends, through into the tunnel we're about to go. And this, of course, is very much, as we said, one at a time through here. But that run down into towards turn 14 could prove to be relatively fortuitous for them. But Serrano knows he's coming under attack. The gap was up to a second about 4 or 5 laps or so ago, but it's definitely come down now. And as you can see, they are separated by the smallest of margins. Got to get a good exit there out of turn 10 on this run through the left-hander, then the right-hander. They are known as corners on the circuit, but they aren't really corners because you're flat out, and then you come in towards the braking zone of turn 14. Again, defensive from Serrano. Gallo's got the outside line. Kokubun just keeping a watching brief on things as Serrano goes late on the brakes. Can he manage to get the apex on the inside of the corner? There's a bit of colder contact there with Kokubun as well.
Yeah, just a little bit there. Nothing to really trouble the stewards, just racing contact. And now, will Gallo have a go here? Will Gallo have a stab at Serrano. He takes a bit of a wider line into the last corner to get a better run, more speed. He's now side by side, but behind them, Kokubun is quicker than both. It's now going to be 3 wide going down towards T1. Kokubun on the outside. Who's going to come out of this to lead? Anyone's game. Serrano there holds the inside line. Kokubun tries to run it all the way around, and Gallo, I think, is going to lose. No, Kokubun does. Onto the grass there, just a little bit too wide, and here comes Kylian Drumont now on Kokubun.
You could see that happening there, couldn't you, with Kokubun just a bit too much spin to the corner. Drumont's trying to go around the outside through the S-bends and does go through. So Kokubun, from challenging for the race lead, now relegated down into 4th, possibly coming under threat from Kanata Kawakami here too, as they come through into the tunnel section. Kawakami's really going to try and get his elbows out on Kokubun, but I'm sure he's going to have to wait just a few moments until they get on the run to that back straight here.
It's happened a couple of times now, the Kokubun in this race. He tried to challenge Serrano, got on the grass, slowed himself down, was on it again, and now he's back down to 4th place. So it's showing you just how difficult it is to overtake these things around here. And Kawakami, of course, a compatriot of Kokubun, but I tell you what, no love lost between the two of them. They'll duke it out just like anybody else if you come down the back straight. And a little bit of a lift there, though, from Kawakami. Maybe what I was saying was just wrong. Who knows?
Here comes Serrano side by side with Valerio Gallo for the race lead. Warning for all drivers, track limits at turn 9 as well. So they're keeping a watching eye on it. They've got their warning already. If they get another one, they'll be in for the penalties.
That's coming on to the back straight there. I see a lot of drivers pretty much go out and touch the wall there, which is well off the racing surface. So again, we have Gallo versus Serrano down towards T1. Drumont now, who's just been waiting up into 3rd place. Maybe we'll be able to nab another position here if they fight a little bit too aggressive up ahead. Gallo does pull back onto the line there, but has to settle in the back behind Serrano. And of course, all this fighting, all this squabbling between Serrano and Gallo has meant that Kylian Drumont, who was a couple of laps ago, a few seconds off the lead, is now just sitting here behind, basically just waiting for his chance to have a go.
It's interesting watching the two of Gallo and Drumont because they've got very similar driving styles, really smooth. One input of the steering wheel going into the corners, just making sure that they can try and preserve those tyres as much as they possibly can. But Gallo all over the back of Serrano like a bad rash as they come through the left-hander onto the back straight we go. And this is where the slipstream is going to be at its most prominent, and this is where we should expect to see drivers striking a little bit wide on the exit of the corner there for Jose Serrano. Does that leave him open to attack from Valerio Gallo as we come through the tunnel? We emerge into the daylight very briefly. Serrano knows that. Goes defensive. Side by side we run for the race lead. Gallo on the outside. Serrano on the inside. Drumont just keeping a watching brief on things. Who's going to break latest between the top two? Serrano's got the inside line. He's got track positions pushed to the outside. Here's a gap presenting itself for Drumont, who's now on the inside of Valerio Gallo. Gallo shuffled out onto the curb. Drumont then runs side by side with the reigning champion as they come through the left, through the right. He's just about got the overspeed as Gallo goes back into 2nd place, but here comes Drumont with the slipstream once again, but he's being towed along in turn by Jose Serrano. Kokubun and Kawakami also involved in the mix there as well, so this is a 5-way scrap for the race lead as we come down towards the 1st corner. Here comes Jose Serrano on the inside of Gallo. Drumont through on the inside as well. Gallo's going to get shuffled out wide here. Is they going to allow an opportunity for Drumont to elevate himself up into 2nd? No, not quite. Somehow they all managed to emerge from that corner in the same order they went in.
Yeah, no idea how that happened, but I don't think they did either. But awesome scrap here between the now top 5 drivers. Of course, no doubt that Kylian Drumont's game of gloves are helping him in this scenario for 3rd place. But right up behind Valerio Gallo, and I think he's got the better of both of them if he can just get the move done. We know Gallo is extremely experienced, extremely fast driver, so he'll know all the tricks in the book. And then we go to Jose Serrano. He always looks a little bit concerned when he drives, though I wouldn't be. I'd be concerned too. I looked in my mirror and saw a swarm of Group 5 silhouette cars, all of them wanting the place that I was currently occupying.
Well, 5 drivers all battling for this position. It's going to be very exciting, and there's only 3.5 laps now remaining. It's Gallo versus Drumont, who are 2x2 for 2nd. Gallo's on the inside, the Frenchman on the outside. Don't think Drumont's going to be able to make anything stick through there because Kokubun's now attacking him as well. Kawakami, again, just keeping a watching brief on proceedings. Drumont always looks just so calm when you look at his driving style. He doesn't seem to get fazed by absolutely anything. He's sitting there in 3rd place. He's trying to attack Gallo in front. He's trying to defend from Kokubun behind. And as they come down the start-finish straight, it's anybody's guess as to how this is going to work out in towards the 1st corner. Drumont pulls out of the slipstream. Kokubun's on his inside. Gallo's now on his inside as Drumont tries to go in late around the brakes. Tries to go around the outside of Serrano there for good measure as well. He holds the move around the outside there, does Drumont, but he's going to have to surely get out of the throttle here, or is he? Because he's going to have the inside line for the next corner. Still side by side. Gallo could possibly lose out here as well as Kokubun gets ready to join the party too, and somehow Drumont does get himself up into 2nd.
Yeah, really nice there. Just beat Gallo to the apex. Gallo tried to hold it, but you really can't there. The car's got any sort of overlap on you. The move is pretty much made unless you want to go off into the barrier. But Kokman is back into the mix now, of course, challenging for the lead a few laps ago, now in 4th position. Here's that T9. Here's where we saw the track limit warning issued as well. You can see for all drivers, tyre wear is now starting to become an issue. The Kokman's done a pretty good job of looking after those rear tyres so far.
Yeah, I was just about to say 56%, 49% on the front. It's only a few more percent, but of course with the tyre multiplier at ×3 coming into this race, I'm sure that could be possibly beneficial for him in the latter stages of this one as we go in towards the braking zone. Again, Kokman just using the square front of that R31 silhouette car just to give him a little love tap.
They fit together so well, don't they? It's just like Lego, these cars. Yeah, Daniel's right again. And we have this absolutely amazing train of cars, and they're weaving from side to side, trying to break the toe. Drumont's going to try going outside again. Gallo is going to go through the centre of both of them, or attempt to anyway. He's squeezed in the middle. Drumont gets biffed there from Gallo, goes wide, just about keeps it on the track. And the only position change there was between Gallo and Drumont. These guys there is no love lost between any of them. Any part of the circuit, any gap, they're going for it.
3 laps now remaining. Look who's trying to get involved in the action as well. Angel Inestrosa's kept his nose clean in this race, and whilst these top 5 have been squabbling amongst one another, that gap has just come down incrementally over the last couple of laps, and now the Chilean driver brings it from a 5-way squabble to a 6-way scrap in this race. And I'm sure that if anybody's going to get his elbows out, you can guarantee Angel Inestrosa is going to be the one.
You know what? I was giving this race some stick earlier on. This is awesome. Look at this. There's 6 of these cars just basically tied together as we now go into the last couple of laps of the race. Serrano looking increasingly more concerned. You can see his eyes just darting up to the mirror, just trying to see what Gallo's going to do here. Gallo's going to try the outside. This hasn't worked for him in the past. He's going to try the switch back here. Oh, big contact. Kawakami fancies a massive move there. Hits Kokman into Drumont, and now the top 2 have a little bit of a gap, but in the background the 4 of them are pretty much all side by side.
This is incredible stuff here, and the big beneficiary in that was Angel Inestrosa, who's elevated himself up into 3rd place there. That was just really, really greedy from Kanata Kawakami, who's now being set to lose out. We're side by side for the race lead here. Gallo versus Serrano down towards the first corner. Serrano on the inside with track position. Here comes Inestrosa with Drumont, Kawakami and Kokman side by side in the background there as well. There's action wherever you look in this race, and the upshot is that as they come out of the corners, Inestrosa into 4th place and Kokman gets the better of his countryman into P5.
Drumont doing a really good job there to get his P3 back, and now he's going to try and go on to or try and catch the top 2 again. That little bit of a squabble there has slowed them all up. Though saying that, Gallo and Serrano haven't really made the best of it. They're still pretty much in the same scenario they were a lap ago. Can Drumont close the gap once again?
Well, this is going to be really exciting as we come on the run down. So this is the penultimate time. Maybe we'll see a few rehearsals coming into play for the final lap then. It's Jose Serrano who's not having that hole in the air punched in front of him. He's got a bit more tyre wear on the front as well, and slightly less grip on the rear. The big beneficiary could be Valerio Gallo. We're side by side in the background here with Drumont versus Inestrosa as well. Inestrosa on the outside, but he's a bit too deep onto the brakes. Drumont's going to have the inside line as they run into the curb on the outside there. Is that going to cost Inestrosa time? I think he was just able to hold it ahead of the Frenchman as we come ready through into starting the final lap here. It's Jose Serrano who leads the field across the timing line, but is he going to be leading at the checkered flag when we come over next time around? Look in the background here as well. Drumont versus Inestrosa side by side. Here we go with Serrano versus Gallo. Down towards the first corner. Serrano on the inside, Gallo on the outside, running it both a bit deep into there. Switchback tries for Valerio Gallo. Inestrosa's up through into 3rd place. This is going to really kick off on this last lap.
Yeah, really nice from Serrano there, just parked it on the apex, gave Gallo nowhere to go but into the back of him there. So now it's Gallo under attack from Inestrosa behind. All these cars are nose to tail. We're going to see an absolutely mighty lunge, I'm sure, coming up off the end of the back straight now. Serrano has 0 gap to Gallo behind him. His front tyre's down at 25% as well, so he has the worst tyre wear of the top 4 drivers. So it's really, you can see on the turn of the car, just refusing to get into the corner. And now Serrano's going to have to defend for his life because Gallo and Inestrosa are going to try anything to get by.
So down the back straight we go then. It's Gallo trying to attack on Jose Serrano for the race lead. Keep an eye out for Inestrosa. Kokman there in 4th, Drumont in 5th. It's Gallo versus Serrano for the race lead as we come down in towards the braking zone. Inestrosa's going to try and get involved in the action as well. Serrano cheeks to the inside, goes for that defensive line. Here's Drummond on the inside as he tries to go back into fourth place with Kokeman there as they run down to the line. I think Serrano might just have this one sewn up unless Gallo can get involved in the slipstream, but Inestrosa's right on his rear spoiler, and it is going to be a win for Jose Serrano in the Nations Cup for round 3. But who's going to get second? Gallo takes it on the line ahead of Inestrosa. Drummond in 4th, Kokeman in 5th, and Kawakami comes home P6. What a round 3 for the GT World Series in the Nations Cup. That was absolutely spectacular, and the upshot is that Jose Serrano wins it by 2.5 tenths and takes 3 points into the world final. 2 points for Valerio Gallo, 1 from Angel Inestrosa.
Yeah, great race there from Inestrosa, I must say. He came from fairly far down on the grid there and mustered his way by the fighting Japanese drivers and Kylian Drummond, and nearly got Gallo on the line there as well. You can see how pleased he was with that result just after the race there.
6 drivers separated by 1.2 seconds. More of the same, please, next time out. Well, let's have a look, shall we, at the podium then. What a race that was for Angel Inestrosa. Kept his nose clean when others faltered. They started squabbling in front. It's 3rd place for the Chilean driver at the checkered flag. The reigning champion Valerio Gallo back on the box once again in 2022. 2nd place it is for the Italian driver. Some good World Series points going into the finals. And what a drive it was from the young Spaniard, Jose Serrano. Top honours in round 3 of the GT World Series. The Spaniard takes the spoils and the victory at Deep Forest Raceway. What a superb race that was. Let's catch up with our winner from that event then, Jose Serrano. Well, congratulations, Jose. That was a fantastic race. You must be really happy.
Sí, la verdad que estoy muy contento, ¿no? Porque esta victoria se ve muy bien porque necesitaba acercarme a los primeros puestos del campeonato y con esta victoria me acerco bastante ahora.
Well, for much of the race, it was a defensive masterclass. You were under attack from all sides throughout that, but how did you keep your cool?
Pues la verdad que ha sido muy duro, ¿no? Porque el rebufo se notaba muchísimo en esta combinación y intentaba hacer lo imposible, pero al final he conseguido defenderme bien, bastante agresivo la verdad, pero dentro de lo legal, pero la verdad que ha estado muy bien.
Well, Jose, you've been consistently at the top of the World Series since you joined the Gran Turismo World Series a couple of years ago. Is this an important victory as we go into the World Finals? And do you think that you now have the possibility for this being the year of Spain in Gran Turismo?
Bueno, la verdad que estoy contento de estar ahí siempre entre los mejores. Y la verdad que este año está igual de complicado que los 2 anteriores, pero nada imposible, así que en Mónaco a darlo todo y esperemos ser campeones del mundo.
Huge congratulations to Jose Serrano. Here are the point standings, though, as we head into the World Finals. Igor Fraga has a 1-point advantage over Drummond. Jose Serrano tied on points in 3rd there, ahead of Ryota Kokeban. Very much looking forward to the World Finals in Monaco.